Hi, my name is Marisol. Welcome to our video series, Mujeres, Poderosas. Today we have Sahid Rosado, the Recruitment and Diversity Initiatives Coordinator from the College of Engineering. Sahid, can you tell us a little bit more about your title?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, like you said, I'm the Recruitment and Diversity Initiatives Coordinator for the College of Engineering, which that's just a very long title to say that I help the college in their recruitment efforts, particularly attracting students of color to our college. And then I support different diversity initiatives happening around the college, whether it's through supporting our student organizations or different events happening in our college. I kind of support the college in that way.
Can you tell us about your academic background?
So I have an undergraduate degree from the University of Puerto Rico, which is where I'm from, in civil engineering. And then after I finished my undergrad, I moved to the States to pursue grad school. So my master's degree is also in environmental engineering. And then when I finished that master's, I kind of decided I did not want to do engineering anymore. And I ended up pursuing a second master's degree in curriculum and instruction in the College of Education. So it's interesting, like a mixture of engineering but also education in my academic background.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And when did you realize that engineering maybe wasn't a career that you wanted to continue?
That's a great question. I think everyone throughout their life kind of goes through a phase of where you're like questioning all your decisions, and I certainly went through that when I was finishing my first master's. And I really started reflecting on what I wanted to do, and I just did not really see myself working as an engineer or doing research, which is what I was doing. I wanted to do something with students, and so that's when I was like, well, I could still like combine engineering with education somehow and get that interaction with students. And so that's the moment in my life where I was like, let's just do something completely different, and that's what I ended up doing.
Did you face any challenges related to being a Latina throughout your career, like academic or professional?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, I think this is something that most of those in the Latino community go through. So like I mentioned, I did my undergrad in Puerto Rico, and then I moved to the States to pursue my master's degree. And that's really when I started facing a lot of these issues, because growing up in Puerto Rico, it's kind of a bubble, right? Like, we're all Latinos, but the interaction is very different. So when I moved to the States and I started going through a lot of what we call like imposter syndrome and stereotype threat, and I was questioning, like, do I belong here? Am I good enough? Like, I always felt I was way behind in my scientific knowledge. So it was a really tough adjustment, I would say, that first year that I was in the States. And still to this day, I think I look back on it and I think that was probably the hardest time while being in the States. It was essentially during that time, that transition phase. It's really hard.
Unfortunately, that is like the reality for like a lot of Latino women.
Oh, absolutely.
And what do you enjoy most about being Latina?
There's many different things that I enjoy about being Latina, but I think that being part of the Latinx community, I think, and of course I'm totally biased on this, but I really do think there's nothing quite like it. You know, like, every time I think about my culture, different things come to my mind, you know, like the interactions that happen in the community, like how vibrant it is, and like the, you know, just the sense of community that you feel in the Latinx community. I think it's very unique. I think that every time, you know, I think about home and I think about all the interesting things that happen at home, whether it's with the food or the music and just like the feels about, you know, like you get when you're home. Yeah. I think the Latinx community really, you feel that and you get that every time you're in the community. So I think that's my favorite part of it, is just being able to share that also with other people is my favorite part about it.
What advice would you give Latinx students that are transitioning from an academic environment to a professional one?
Well, kind of related to what I was mentioning before, about really reminding ourselves of our worth and of our value. I think that's crucial, whether it's from, you know, your educational to then professional or whatever stage in life you are. I think it's crucial that we in fact remind ourselves how valuable we are. And even though, like, you might think that you're behind on whatever, or that there's others that might be better at something than you, or whatever the reason is. I think it's so important to trust ourselves, even though I know that sometimes can be very hard, especially depending on where you are and who you're surrounded by. But I think it's so important that we reflect really on our preparedness and, like all we've been through, and remind ourselves that, I've gotten this far, and so now I just need to be confident and try to find that confidence, even if it's like hidden inside of you. I think it's really hard and important that we do that and remind ourselves how good we are, how valuable we are.
Thank you. I'm sure a lot of people will really need to use that reminder. Well, those are the questions we have for you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. We really appreciate it, and we know that a lot of other people will too. So thank you on behalf of them. Thank you so much for also watching this video. Keep an eye out for the next videos of the Mujeres Poderosas series.